Warning, the following podcast is brought to you by dads who can never remember the Wi-Fi password. Welcome to the All Pro Dad Podcast.
Hey, welcome to the All Pro Dad Podcast. My name is Ted Lowe, and I'm joined today by Bobby Lewis and BJ Foster.
What's going on, man?
How are you guys?
Yeah, good.
This is a good one. Let me ask you guys a question. Here's some common dad phrases. I want you to let me know if you've ever said them or a version of them.
Okay.
Number one, don't make me turn this car around.
For sure.
Yeah.
If not with words, with my eyes.
I've certainly thought it if I've never said it.
Yeah. I actually did it.
Really?
Like at Six Flags. Because we had season passes. So I thought, I'm going to cash this in. They would not stop fighting in the car. And I said, you guys knock it off or we're going home. I turned the car around going to an amusement park. How brutal. I still regret it.
Did you get all the way home?
Oh, yeah. We didn't go.
Wow. You didn't
go? I was not in a good space as a dad. And my daughter, it was like you had set her on fire. She was so upset. Okay, so don't do that. Put a sweater on if you're cold.
I don't think I've said that one.
No, me either. Their mom probably is. I'm not just talking to hear my voice.
I think I might have said that. Yeah, that sounds familiar. It's terrible, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Money doesn't grow on trees.
Oh, daily.
Something like that. Yeah.
some version of that.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun with money. Right.
I know.
Man.
Yeah, but Nancy said it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, go. Don't spend it all in one place.
Oh, yeah. Usually is like a awful joke, but yeah.
Don't touch the thermostat.
1,000%. In fact, so much so that I got those thermostats that I can control on my phone.
Like right now, you could make it hot at your house.
I can. Yeah. I am 2,000 miles away and I can control but it's fantastic. Think about if you're on vacation and it's in the middle of summer and it's 90 degrees out and you've had the thermostat at, 85, 90 the
I have a
entire
feeling
week.
you use it more than when you're on vacation.
This just brought you more joy.
Absolutely. Did you hear these? See how much I lit up?
Yeah.
But when I go upstairs in the morning and they've got, if the thermostat is set lower than 70 degrees, I'm off my rocker.
Did you say this?
No, I haven't, but I'm also not as passionate about it as BJ is. So
No.
I've never said that.
Well, I'm like, that's a lot of money going out the door. And so I'm like, there's no need for this to be.
And money doesn't
60s.
grow on trees, so you need to you knock this air
Exactly,
conditioning down.
100%. I'm like, you have no idea how much this is costing us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ask your mother.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Oh, yeah. She just knows more stuff. Yeah. That's good. I think it's good. Probably not good.
That's a daily thing, I think.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Don't use that tone with me.
Yeah, variation of that at some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was those exact words, but yeah, I've said that.
Pull my finger.
No.
No?
Never.
No.
Sorry, I thought that was a staple.
I know.
That is a household favorite in our house.
I've
Are
had
you kidding?
My son has asked me to do that.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I was like, I really don't want to. And because he was so excited. He's like, please do it. Someone told him. And I was like, all right. So I pulled his finger.
Gosh, I'm so disappointed.
Wasn't my best moment. Yeah.
So much joy you've missed out on. Have you ever heard of making a phone call?
Oh. No. But I don't think my kids have been out long enough yet to do that. I mean, that's they didn't call you to let them know.
I think it's kind of like call your friend. Like they'll text and I'll say, hey, why don't you just call them? They're like, why don't you send a carrier pigeon?
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's what that means. You haven't said that yet?
No.
Yeah. Now we're cooking with gas.
No. But I think is that a Southern saying? Or is that
there used to be some kind of gas commercial. No, we're cooking with gas.
Okay.
I mean, speaking of Southern things, I have 3. You can tell me if you've said them or heard them. This is my favorite. Boy, I'm about to tear you out the frame.
Why did your voice change?
Because it's from Alabama.
Haven't heard of it. Even heard of it. Definitly haven't used it.
No.
Okay.
I'm about to tear you out the frame.
I'm about to tear you out the frame.
Like I'm taking you out of the family picture.
Like I've never even. I have no idea its origin. Just that it was terrifying. You'd make a better door than a window.
Oh well, yeah,
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heard it for sure.
You're getting too big for your britches. You heard that?
I haven't used it, but I've heard it.
You've heard it.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
All right. But there are some phrases. Those are hopefully fun ones. But here is our big question of the week. What are 10 common dad phrases that we need to lose?
Well, words aren't neutral. They're either helpful or they're hurtful. And so we want to be using the helpful ones. So
yeah, that's so true.
It's good to get rid of the bad ones.
So no words are neutral. They're either helpful or hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, BJ. That'll preach. So here are a few common phrases that makes kids feel small and that you don't know them. Number one is stop crying or I'm going to give you something to cry about.
Yeah, I don't like this one. It's all built on intimidation, threats, leveraging your gigantic adult size against little kids to, seem scary or intimidating or just make them comply with whatever you want to do. And half the time, if a kid's crying, maybe more than half the time, there's a really good reason. Like you're just ignoring it because it makes you uncomfortable or you don't want to deal with it in the moment. So you say, hey, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. It's intimidation. That's all it is. Recently, we had a situation where my son was crying and I didn't quite get it. I was frustrated. I've never said this phrase in my life, but I was maybe thinking it in this moment, like, just stop crying. And after I asked a couple of questions, I realized that he had a pretty legit reason for crying. And it's because his mom left him in the driveway and drove off to the park without him. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem fair. And he came back in and we kind of talked through it. And he said, oh yeah, well, I told her I didn't want to go because the park sounded dumb. And I was like, well, okay. So she left and he says, yeah, but I really wanted to go. And so I talked to him. I was like, well, mom's not a mind reader. Like you said you didn't want to go. So she drove away. And so we had a good communication, moment there. But I'm glad I didn't say, hey, stop crying. I'll give you something to cry about. I'm going to stop it. You're bugging me. It would have broken the opportunity to kind of get closer as a dad and a son. When we jump to these phrases like, be quiet, shut up, I don't want to hear this. It's never bonding. It's never building up your relationship. It's tearing it down.
It's just control at that point.
Well, yeah. And you're not really even getting down to the bottom of why he's actually crying, that there could be a reason there. And it was an opportunity. I kind of feel like that you were able to be like, well, why don't you just communicate what you're really thinking?
Yep. Like, that was the lesson eventually. I was like, well, mom didn't know what you didn't say.
Right.
You gotta communicate better. And he did, and we learned from it, and he hasn't done it since. Imagine what he would have felt if I had said, we just stop it, just stop crying. He would have, just thought I didn't care, thought mom didn't care, mom left me, dad doesn't care. Now what's his little brain thinking, We can't make matters worse by using a phrase like that.
Well, and especially to a boy, you say, don't cry, or, there's other versions that boys hear of that. And you hear sadness is not okay. Stop it. So a different thing that we could say, try this instead. Hey, it's okay that you're frustrated right now. You're upset. I want you to tell me what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then you hear what's going on and you could say, hey, it's okay to be upset, but it's not okay to be nasty. And so that's the thing at the end that you can circle back around. It's not like you're not going to discipline, but it's just like, tell me what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Here's another one. What's wrong with you is something that, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you when they do something? We want to confront bad behavior when it happens, but saying what's wrong with you basically makes it seem like they're the problem and not their behavior. It's not focusing on the right thing.
Absolutely. Another thing we could say instead is, hey, that choice wasn't like you. Tell me what's going on. Help me understand what happens. We used to say to our kids a lot going, hey, that wasn't like you. Like, talk to me. And all of a sudden now we're going to focus, like you said, on the behavior and not the kid. Mm-hmm. I used to get this one a lot. What were you thinking? So I want to talk passionately to the ADHD community of fathers. The thing with anybody with ADHD is there's not thoughts before a lot of actions. The blurting, the stepping, out into traffic. Like there's no thought. Like my dad probably had to grab me by the arm way too late in my life. Like I should remember like even thinking, why are you pulling my arm? He was so used to having to protect me from me. And so instead of saying, what were you thinking in a frustrated tone, say, hey, buddy, let's rewind. What was going on right before that happened? And that helps them to go, oh, I was distracted by this, or, oh, I was excited about this. And it helps them to kind of rewind and kind of focus. Oh, this is what leads to this. That would have been so helpful. To ask your kid, what were you thinking? Oh, it's very shaming and it hurt. And my dad, in his defense, we didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was, didn't hear it. And I'm sure it was like, what was the thoughts behind that action? So I get it. It just is not helpful and it's hurtful.
Jason Hood, who was on our podcast a while back, told this great story about his son. They were in the grocery store and his son picked up a bag of flour that clearly said 2 pounds on the bag. And he put it on the scale at like the grocery section where you just kind of weigh the apples or whatever you weigh, because he wanted to see if it was actually 2 pounds, but he knocked it down and it fell and it broke and the thing was on the ground. And Jason's like, what were you thinking? And he regretted it because the kid was just being curious. Now it caused a mess. And Jason, from his story, he was like, well, I felt kind of embarrassed. Like everyone's looking at my kid. He made a giant mess. So, in those moments, we have to pause too, because maybe he was stressed out or he was, thinking, hey, I don't know how to handle this. So I'm just going to blurt something out. That's not great.
No. And they already feel ashamed. I mean, that's the thing with the ADHD kid. They're going to struggle with shame already.
Yeah. For sure. There's a couple of common phrases that can hurt our connection with our kids. I mean, I think our number one thing as dads should be making sure our kids know that they're loved and safe. But also we want to make sure that they're feeling connected to us, that they can come to us whenever they want, that they can tell us anything they need to say. These are some things that we say that can hurt that connection. One of them was, when I was your age, and I think we've all said that at some point, just trying to compare troubles, right? I know I've done it. We said it just the other day. When I was your age, we couldn't rent Netflix. We had to get up and drive to Blockbuster or whatever. We had to compare issues. And that doesn't really help. It just makes the kid feel like you're trying to one-up them. That you're trying to say, hey, I had it hard. I walked to school uphill both ways in the snow barefoot, blah, 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 blah. We've all heard people say that before. It actually minimizes their experience. It makes them feel like what they're going through is nothing compared to what you went through. So they should just shut up about it. Like that's not a great thing. It creates distance between you and your kid. And we had a great episode 61 about that. It's called What Problems Do Kids Face Today That We Didn't? We talked about a bunch of those sorts of things. So if you've caught yourself kind of comparing your childhood to your kid's childhood, that'd be a great one to go check out. If you're tempted to say something like that, here's another thing you can say instead. I remember saying something like this growing up. I remember having an experience like this. Buddy, I'm sorry. That stinks. It wasn't fun. But you're living in a different world than me. Can you just explain how you're feeling? Can you explain it like I'm a Martian? Explain it like I've never been here before so I can understand you better. That's a good option for dads who are maybe frustrated in that moment. And another one that we say is, you're making me crazy. You guys said this one before? Yeah. Here's the problem with that is our kids are not responsible for our emotions. We are responsible for our emotions. So our kids may be acting wild. They may be running around. They may be not focused on whatever. That shouldn't impact our emotions at all. We're in charge of that, not them. So we have to watch out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said it on another episode, it bears repeating, is my most regrettable moments with the dad with 2 of my kids was saying, I can't do this right now. Yeah. I don't know what to do. One felt abandoned and one thought I was avoiding. So we can't do that.
Yeah. Something you can say instead of yelling out, you're making me crazy, is you can say, all right, guys, I'm a little frustrated right now. I need a minute. Just give me a little second. I'll come back and we'll finish this conversation in a bit. And that will kind of prevent you from saying something you don't want to say.
So hard. So hard to do in the moment.
I know.
Like if you can just be way better at this than I was, taking that break. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I said, you guys are making me crazy. Yeah. Mostly in the car.
Did they ever say anything back to you? When you said that to your kids, do you remember them saying like, oh?
I don't remember them saying, they got really
quiet or
head down. Yeah. I mean, it was a shaming kind of moment and, where I needed everybody to be quiet. I needed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's so funny. It was a phrase that if I had not asked them or they had not shared with me, I would have never thought that was a big deal. You're making me crazy. You're driving me crazy. I can't do anything. I mean, I didn't know. I thought it was benign. I didn't think it was a big deal. It turns out it was a really big deal. Sometimes you do need a break. We talk about that a lot. Pause, take a breath. My son, I go, buddy, and sometimes I'd do it well. I need a break. And he would go, but I want to talk to my dad right now. And I'm like, you don't. You really don't. But he's told me now, like, I used to think you were avoiding it, and I now know to give you a break. You know, he's 25, and so it took us a while to get there. So get there before me, friend.
So those are a couple of things that we say that kind of hurt our connection with our kids. Here's a couple of things that we can say that mess up how they see authority. And if you really want to go to that 30,000 foot view, how they see God, how they relate to just authority in their life, and even higher than that. How we exercise authority as a dad really shapes the way that they see the world, the way they see all authority. If we're an overbearing presence, if we're authoritarian and yelling and getting some of these things wrong, perhaps they repel authority, other authority in their life, coaches, teachers, law enforcement, whatever. We don't want them to repel authority. We want them to be healthy, in a healthier way, succumbing underneath to the authority in their life, whoever that happens to be.
Strong and safe.
That's the right word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, like when I think about authority, I think of the parent who says, do it because I said so, which is so, I mean, we don't think about this much, but it's often based in fear. Like, do it because I said that, period, that kind of a thing, rather than kind of giving them more of an explanation of, okay, this is why it is. So instead of something like that, it's, I think, often best to kind of give clear consequences, clear boundaries, an explanation of what it is. That's often what they need. Like, okay, now sometimes it's like, you've explained it. It's like, okay, you've explained the boundary. You've explained the consequence. They get it. And they continue to ask, yeah, but. And that's when you hear a lot of parents go, yeah, but isn't it okay to say because I said so? And that well, you're saying it in a different way. You're kind of saying, we've talked about it. I've explained it to you. It's clear. You get it. We're not going to talk about it anymore.
That's good.
Instead of because I said so right off the bat, it really doesn't give you legitimacy. What gives you legitimacy is, this is why. Here it is. This is why I'm doing this, because it's ultimately better for you in this way. Yeah, well, I disagree. You can disagree all you want. Right. And when you're older, you can make consequences and boundaries for your kids. But here are your consequences and boundaries. I've explained them to you, and this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Very different than just kind of throwing out because I said so.
Yeah. And so in other words, instead of saying, because I said so, you say, hey, I've already explained this to you. Mm-hmm. We're done. What about when this is a safety issue? That's when I think I would catch myself saying, because I said so. What about those times?
Well, that's where you explain what the safety issue is. Hey, you're going to get hurt. You could potentially get hurt here in a really bad way. And so therefore, this is where the boundary is. Don't cross it because ultimately you could end up hurting yourself. And so again, they might be like, yeah, but I'm not going to get it. Okay, I see you getting hurt. I see things better than you do. You have a kid has a very limited vision of their surroundings and consequences. They, in terms of their brain development, we've talked about this before. They have trouble seeing the consequences of their action, cause and effect. They have trouble seeing who they're impacting, the people around them, all of those things. Those are things, and I've explained all of this to my kids. I see things because of my brain development. Your mom sees things because of where our brains are developed fully. We see things you don't see. So you can either trust me, okay, and stay within the boundaries, or you can not trust me, step outside of the boundaries, and then you're going to have consequences that you're not ready for.
Yeah, you said the right word, trust. And, hopefully we're building that up with our kids every day. But when you say, this is the way it's going to be, okay, I know a little bit more in this area, this is how it's going to be. Do you trust that I'm doing this for your good? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not going to put you in a position where you're in danger, not on purpose. I'm not going to put you in a position where I think you're going to get hurt, not on purpose. This happened just recently, and we kind of had to just let it go. Like, we were on a vacation, our 6-year-old, we did a little zip line thing, and the 2 older kids did it. They were like, oh, we're so excited. The 6-year-old was deathly afraid to do it. And I was trying to encourage her, and I actually said this, do you think Daddy would put you in a position where you'd get hurt? And she said, no. And I said, okay, well, this is not going to hurt you. And she still wouldn't do it, which is fine. But I do think that that was an important thing to lay the groundwork for someday when there is something that I need you to do to prevent you from getting hurt. And I say, hey, remember, I tried to lay this before. Like, I'm not going to do something that's going to get you hurt. And when I'm saying something that you don't like to hear, and I know that it's going to prevent you from having harm, I think you need to trust me in this. And I think that's a really good step.
And I think a lot of this, what we're talking about, if we're being real, it's not easy on our best day to respond this way. So I think for an exhausted dad who just needs it to stop because he doesn't have the skills, or his amygdala is in charge, it's just to say, we've talked about this. I'm tired. We'll talk about it again tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like, I think those are just, and making it simple, because a lot of times we're just, as dads, we don't have the time, we don't have the energy. We've got 3 other kids. We got fires we're putting out. Just later, bud. Yeah. It's fine, right?
Well, and later is way better than because.
Yeah.
Because without an answer. Because I said so communicates to them that you don't have a good answer. You don't have a good reason. To say to them, you know what, I'll tell you later. I'm not going to tell you now.
Yeah,
I'll tell you tomorrow, or I'll tell you in an hour.
Yeah, that's good.
But I can't tell you right now. That's totally different.
Yeah. So because I said so is obviously a phrase that could harm their view of authority. Another one is, I'm disappointed in you. And I think that this one might be surprising to dads to hear that, because there may be legitimate reasons that you're maybe disappointed. But what it really communicates is that your love is conditional, and that their performance earns them love. Their performance earns things in your eyes. Never want that to happen. And so if that's the way that you're communicating with them, it's highly likely that they will do things that they don't need to do to please authority in their life, that maybe not be healthy, maybe not be safe. I don't want to get into that situation where we're saying that. I'm disappointed in you. Never good. Instead of saying that, let's do this. Instead, I'm disappointed in the choice you made. That way, like we talked about earlier, you are putting the emphasis on the choice and not them as a person. Much safer.
I mean, this is one of those things when you tell a kid, I'm disappointed in you. Whew.
Yeah.
In you?
I heard it. I mean, I heard it as a kid, and it wasn't great. It didn't make me feel good. So
I think I've told this before, but I was a chaplain for a football team, and we had a senior retreat before the season started where every senior could get up and kind of tell something about themselves. And one of the stories the senior told, he told a story about his dad telling him he was a disappointment. And he cried. And I mean, this is a big defensive lineman, like stud, huge, all conference guy. And that's the story he decided he wanted to tell. And so, boy, these things do really cut to the heart.
Yeah,
absolutely. And again, that dad was disappointed, and he said it, and he probably thought that was a kinder word than what he could have said, right?
It drives us back to the very first thing you said in this whole episode was your words have influence. Mm-hmm. They have power. They can harm or they can help. Choose your words carefully. Because they will leave a mark on your kids. We want to leave more positive marks than negative marks on our children. Watch what you're saying as a dad.
Absolutely. That's the perfect transition to jump into the pro move. Is this week, before you correct, question, or even joke with your child, pause for just 1 second and ask yourself, is what I'm about to say hurtful or helpful for my kid? Mm-hmm. Is what I'm about to say hurtful or helpful for my kid?
Absolutely.
Because this it feels a little heavy, but I'm glad. Right, for me, like I'm going, because words are weighty, right?
Hopefully convicting, because I'm sure of that list that we said, you have to have said one of them at some time or another. No, I have. I've said multiple.
Versions thereof. Yep. Yeah, that's good. Well, you guys, thanks. This has been good. Hey, listen, if you already are listening to the podcast, did you know you can watch the podcast on YouTube? Check that out. Subscribe to the channel, and as always, thank you for listening. We know that you and your kids will be glad that you did.
Thanks again for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. Behind every episode is our amazing team. Producer, Haley Mawat, audio and video editor, Buck Buchanan, and production coordinator, Corey Walliff. All Pro Dad is the fatherhood program of the nonprofit Family First. Along with our motherhood program, iMom, we exist to help you love your family well. So remember, if you have more questions than answers, then you're probably in the right place. See you next time.